What if I told you there are 9 different foods sitting in warehouses right now that your great-grandchildren could still safely consume? And not just eat to survive, but genuinely thrive on. Foods that practically laugh at expiration dates. These aren't like that carton of milk you tossed last week. These are long-lasting staples with shelf lives stretching past 25 years, sometimes even further. Now, before you assume I'm just talking about boring bags of flour and sugar, hold up. Number 7 on this list is probably already in your kitchen in fresh form, and you're spending money on it week after week, when its powdered version could easily last until 2050. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll know which powdered foods are worth stocking up on, how to properly store them, and why most preppers completely ignore the single best protein source that actually costs less per serving than chicken. I've been prepping since 2012. That's more than a decade of trial, error, and real-world lessons on what truly works when it comes to food storage. And here's the part nobody mentions. Powdered foods aren't just for emergencies. They're for anyone smart enough to recognize that food prices only climb higher, that supply chains are fragile, and that having options gives you control, real control. The kind of control that keeps you calm when supermarket shelves look straight out of a dystopian movie. The kind of control that lets you share with your neighbors. The kind of control that means you can prepare a real meal while others are scrapping for the last can of beans. Let's kick things off with number 1. Powdered eggs. I can already hear what you're thinking. Powdered eggs? Aren't those bland, rubbery relics from old military rations? Wrong. That's outdated information. Today's powdered eggs, when properly stored, are absolute game changers. Here's why. Eggs are one of the most adaptable foods we have. Breakfast, baking, binding ingredients together, you name it. But fresh eggs only last about 3 to 5 weeks in the fridge. Powdered eggs sealed in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers and kept in a cool, dry spot. You're looking at 30 years, sometimes longer. When I first tested them back in 2014, I was blown away. First, they actually taste good when rehydrated the right way. Second, they save a ton of space. A number 10 can of powdered eggs, equal to roughly 7 dozen fresh eggs, takes up about the same room as a large coffee tin. Third, the nutrition is nearly identical. About 6 grams of protein per serving, just like fresh eggs. That's not just survival food. That's smart, strategic food storage. Here's where most people go wrong. They buy powdered eggs but never touch them because they don't know how to rehydrate them properly. The secret: use water that's just slightly warm, not cold, not boiling hot. Mix 2 tablespoons of powder with 2 tablespoons of water, then let it sit for 5 minutes. Don't skip that waiting time. It allows the powder to fully absorb and come back to life. When you cook them, go low and slow. Too much heat makes them rubbery. Use medium-low heat with a little oil or butter, and they come out surprisingly close to fresh eggs. Personally, I use powdered eggs regularly, not just for long-term storage. They're perfect for baking because they're consistent every time. No more guessing whether you've got medium or large eggs. The measurements are exact. And if you camp or travel, they're unbeatable. No cracked eggs in the cooler, no refrigeration needed. Just scoop some powder and you're good to go. Now on to number 2. Powdered milk. Before you roll your eyes and say powdered milk tastes weird, let's clear this up. Sure, drinking it plain isn't going to win any awards, but that's not the real point. As an ingredient, powdered milk is a powerhouse. It gives you calcium, vitamin D, and protein that can last for decades. Full-fat powdered milk has a shelf life of about 5 to 10 years. Non-fat powdered milk, if stored right, can stretch to 25 years or more. The difference comes down to fat. Fat goes rancid over time. So if you want the longest shelf life, stock up on non-fat. But here's a pro tip. Keep both. Use the non-fat for long storage and the full fat for taste and versatility. The real beauty of powdered milk isn't in pouring yourself a glass. It's in what you can make with it. Think creamy soups, mashed potatoes, fresh bread, biscuits, pancakes, yogurt, even hot chocolate. It works as a coffee creamer, a smoothie base, or a protein shake booster. The uses go on, making it one of the most underrated staples for a resilient pantry. You can even whip up a surprisingly good cheese sauce using powdered milk if you know the right technique. Here's a tip I picked up from a homesteading friend back in 2016. If you plan to drink powdered milk and want it to taste better, mix it up the night before and let it chill in the fridge overnight. That extra cold steeping time transforms the flavor and texture. Add a single drop of vanilla extract and just a pinch of sugar, and suddenly your doomsday milk tastes pretty decent. Number 3 is powdered whey protein, and this is where we separate the dabblers from the dedicated. Protein is by far the hardest macronutrient to preserve for the long haul. Carbohydrates? Easy. Fats? Doable, though tricky. Protein, however, is the real puzzle. Fresh meat spoils quickly. Canned meat is useful but bulky and expensive. Beans are excellent, but they don't contain all the essential amino acids on their own. That's where whey protein powder shines. High-quality whey isolate, stored in a sealed container with oxygen absorbers, can stay good for 10 to 15 years, sometimes even longer. It's a complete protein source, meaning it provides all 9 essential amino acids your body can't produce itself. And the protein density is incredible. A single tub about the size of a large jar can pack 40 servings, each with 25 grams of protein. That's 1,000 grams of protein in a container you can easily carry. The mistake most people make is buying cheap whey protein filled with artificial flavors, sweeteners, and low-grade additives. That's why it clumps, smells off, or degrades after a year or two. Quality is critical here. Look for whey isolate or concentrate from trusted brands with minimal extra ingredients, and don't forget proper storage. If the factory seal is strong, keep it in the original tub. Otherwise, transfer it into Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers to maximize its shelf life. I keep whey protein in my regular rotation, not just as emergency food. It's part of my daily life. A quick post-workout shake, a grab-and-go breakfast, or even an extra boost stirred into oatmeal. It blends perfectly into smoothies and makes pancake batter more filling. It's flexible, it's compact, and it fills one of the biggest gaps in long-term food storage that most people never think about. Now, let's pause for a moment. I get that this might feel overwhelming. You're watching this because you want to be ready, to have peace of mind, but maybe you're unsure where to start. That's exactly why I created a free guide that focuses on something even more fundamental than powdered foods. It's called How to Turn $50 into a 90-Day Food Supply. And yes, it's genuinely free. No hidden strings attached. Inside, you'll find a precise $50 shopping list with actual brands and prices, enough to feed your household for more than 90 days. It also lays out 37 overlooked preparedness items. Number 23 is going to catch you off guard. You'll learn a simple storage trick that works in apartments or small homes. You'll see how to prepare meals that don't require fuel or electricity. I'll show you which gas station snack doubles as a great barter item, and how to scale from a 1-week stash to a full 3 months with confidence. Plus, it covers the single oil that stays safe and shelf-stable for years, along with a budgeting insight at number 7 that could change how you shop forever. All right, let's get back to it. Number 4. Powdered soup mixes. Now hear me out. I'm not talking about those supermarket packets loaded with salt, starch, and MSG. I mean high-quality dehydrated soup mixes with real vegetables, real herbs, and genuine nutritional value. You can find them from preparedness suppliers, and even some regular grocery brands if you know what labels to check. The beauty of powdered soup mixes comes down to 3 big advantages. First, they're comfort food. In stressful times, nothing compares to a warm bowl of soup for lifting spirits in a way peanut butter and crackers never could. Second, they're almost effortless to make. Most require nothing more than boiling water and a short 10 to 15-minute simmer. No cooking skills necessary. Third, they last for decades. Properly packaged, These mixes can easily reach the 25-year shelf life mark, and some companies even claim longer. But here's the catch. You've got to read the ingredient list closely. Many so-called soup mixes are mostly starch and filler with barely any vegetables. What you want are the mixes where vegetables, legumes, and actual seasonings are near the top of the list. Those are the ones worth storing. Split pea soup mix, lentil soup, minestrone, black bean soup. These varieties actually deliver fiber, protein, and real nutrition, not just empty starch. I learned this lesson the hard way back in 2015 when I stocked up on what I thought was a bargain batch of soup mixes. 6 months later, I opened one for testing and found nothing more than pasty flour with a couple of sad carrot flakes floating around. Total waste of money. Since then, I've only bought from companies that specialize in legitimate preparedness foods. Or I just make my own mixes, which is far easier than you might think. All it takes is bulk dehydrated vegetables, some bouillon powder, dried beans or lentils, and your choice of spices. Mix them together, and you've got a custom soup blend that costs a fraction of the commercial stuff and tastes a whole lot better. Number 5 is powdered cheese. Yes, cheese, reduced to powder form. And before you turn your nose up, realize this is something you already eat all the time. That box of mac and cheese? Powdered cheese. Those bright orange cheese crackers? Powdered cheese. The cheesy dust they dump on movie theater popcorn? Yep, powdered cheese again. The difference is, when you buy real powdered cheddar or a quality cheese blend for storage, you're getting a product that can last over 20 years and completely change the way your meals taste. A little goes a long way. You can make cheese sauce for pasta or veggies, fold it into scrambled eggs, fresh or powdered, stir it into mashed potatoes, sprinkle it on popcorn, or even knead it into bread dough for cheesy biscuits. With a bit of powdered milk and some seasonings, you can even whip up a surprisingly good cheese dip. Here's the bigger picture. Fat is notoriously hard to store long-term. Oils go rancid. Butter won't last unless freeze-dried or canned. And nuts eventually spoil because of their oils. Powdered cheese, on the other hand, gives you a shelf-stable fat source that actually tastes great. No one is claiming it's a health food, but when you're living on rice and beans for weeks or months, that cheesy flavor can completely change your outlook. I learned this firsthand in 2017 when I lived off my food storage for a week as a test. Flavor fatigue is very real. Even if you have enough calories, bland food wears you down mentally. Powdered cheese is cheap insurance against that. For $20 to $30, you can get a container that lasts for years and makes hundreds of meals more enjoyable. Number 6 is one of my favorites, powdered peanut butter. If you've seen it in the fitness world, you probably know it as a lower-fat substitute for traditional peanut butter. But from a prepper's perspective, it's brilliant. Regular peanut butter is already fairly shelf-stable, lasting a year or two unopened. The downside is that it's heavy, bulky, and its oils eventually spoil, especially if stored somewhere warm. Powdered peanut butter solves all of that. By removing most of the fat, you're left with concentrated peanut protein and flavor in a lightweight, compact form. Stored properly, it can last 15 to 20 years or longer. Rehydrated with water, it makes a spreadable peanut butter. Admittedly, the texture isn't quite the same as the real thing, but its true power is as an ingredient. You can stir it into oatmeal, blend it into smoothies, add it to baked goods, mix up a peanut sauce for rice or noodles, or toss it into a protein shake. Nutritionally, peanuts are legumes, so they're higher in protein than most plants, about 7 grams in just 2 tablespoons. They're calorie-dense too, though powdered versions have fewer calories since the fat is mostly gone. In a survival scenario, powdered peanut butter offers protein, flavor, and versatility in a package that outlasts nearly everything else in your pantry. I keep multiple jars of it in my storage, and I actually use it all the time. Not because I'm trying to cut fat, but because I like options. Some days, I want the richness of real peanut butter. Other days, I just want the flavor without the heaviness. Powdered peanut butter gives me that flexibility. And now we come to number 7, and this one's a game changer. Powdered fruit. Specifically, I'm talking about freeze-dried fruit that's been ground into powder. This is where things get exciting because most people have never even thought about this option. They picture freeze-dried strawberries or blueberries in whole form, which is great, but fruit powder is an entirely different level. Why go with powdered fruit? For several reasons. First, it's the ultimate space saver. What would normally take up pounds of fresh fruit can be condensed into a single jar of powder. Second, the versatility is unmatched. You can rehydrate it into a fruit puree, stir it into yogurt or oatmeal, add it to smoothies, or use it in baking to give natural fruit flavor and color without the extra liquid. You can even make fruit leather by rehydrating it and spreading it out thin. Third, freeze-dried fruit powder keeps most of its original nutrients, especially antioxidants and vitamins, since it's preserved without heat. But here's the real win. Powdered fruit adds natural sweetness to your meals without relying only on sugar. And don't get me wrong, sugar is a storage essential. But powdered strawberry, banana, or mango doesn't just sweeten. It adds flavor and nutrition at the same time. That's a powerful combination. You can buy powdered fruits from various suppliers, but if you own a freeze dryer and a good blender, you can make your own. Buy fruit when it's cheap and in season, freeze dry it, grind it, and store it in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. Just like that, you've preserved summer strawberries or autumn apples for the next 25 to 30 years. I started experimenting with fruit powders in 2019, and it completely changed my perspective on food storage. Strawberry powder turned ordinary camping pancakes into something that tasted like fresh berries. A spoonful of blueberry powder in hot oatmeal was an instant flavor bomb. A scoop of mango powder blended into a plain protein shake turned it into a tropical treat. And here's something most preppers overlook. Morale is critical. Happiness matters. Hope matters. You can have all the calories you need, but if every meal is bland and depressing, it drags you down mentally. Powdered fruit feels like a luxury, but when you need it, it's priceless. Number 8. Powdered vegetables. This is the true workhorse of long-term storage. Whether as single powders or mixed blends, powdered vegetables give you a way to add flavor, color, and nutrients when fresh produce is scarce or out of reach. Think powdered carrots, spinach, tomato, broccoli, sweet potato, kale. The list is long. Now let's be honest. Nobody's going to rehydrate powdered spinach, put it on a plate, and get excited about eating it. That's not the point. The point is to have a shelf-stable way to sneak vegetable nutrition into other meals. Add powdered vegetables to soups, stews, and sauces. Stir them into rice. Mix them with ground meat for burgers or meatloaf. Blend them into smoothies. The fruit covers the flavor. Even work them into bread dough or casseroles. Nutritionally, these powders hold up surprisingly well. Yes, some vitamin C is lost in the drying process, but most nutrients, including vitamin A, vitamin K, fiber, and minerals like potassium and magnesium, remain intact. Fiber, especially, is huge. Americans already fall short on fiber intake, and in a crisis diet heavy on grains and proteins, fiber is even more important for digestion and overall health. Here's a pro tip I picked up from a nutritionist friend. Make your own custom vegetable powder blend. Combine equal parts spinach, carrot, tomato, and sweet potato powders. Store it in a jar, and now you've got a spoon-ready nutrition boost you can add to almost anything. The flavor is barely noticeable in small amounts, but the nutrient bump is significant. In my storage, I keep both individual vegetable powders and blended mixes. The single powders give flexibility, the blends give convenience, and together they provide peace of mind knowing I can cover my vegetable needs no matter what else I'm eating. Number 9. And this one doesn't get nearly the recognition it deserves. Powdered butter. Yes, actual butter in powdered form. I know that sounds unusual, but hear me out, because this may be the most overlooked gem on the entire list. Fat is absolutely essential to human health. Your body depends on it for hormone regulation, absorption of certain vitamins, brain function, and steady energy. The problem is, fat is also the hardest macronutrient to store long-term. Most oils spoil within a year or two, even if unopened. Coconut oil does better, maybe lasting 3 to 5 years. Canned butter or ghee stretches further, but powdered butter. Properly stored, it can last 20 to 30 years. That's a game changer. Powdered butter is made from real butter with most of the water and part of the liquid fat removed, leaving concentrated milk solids with just enough fat to preserve that buttery taste. When you add water, you get a spreadable butter substitute. The texture isn't exactly like melted butter, but as an ingredient, it shines. Use it in baking. Stir it into mashed potatoes, fold it into pasta, whip up a simple butter sauce, mix it into hot cereal, or spread it on bread if you're not too picky about consistency. But beyond cooking, powdered butter fills a vital nutritional gap. Each serving delivers fat calories plus fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A. In a long-term survival situation where diets often skew toward lean proteins and carbs, fat becomes crucial. Without enough fat, your body struggles to absorb nutrients, your hunger never feels satisfied, energy plummets, and even your mood suffers. I added powdered butter to my supplies in 2018 after reading a study on fat intake during disaster scenarios. The findings were clear. People with reliable fat sources maintained better health, both physical and mental, than those on low-fat diets, even when total calories were equal. That made me realize something. My storage had rice, beans, wheat, and canned vegetables, but very little fat. Powdered butter fixed that hole. Here's my advice. Start small. Buy a can or two. Try it out. Get comfortable with the taste, the texture, and how it works in recipes. If you like it, then stock up. If not, you've only spent $30 to $40 instead of hundreds. So let's recap the 9 powdered foods that can last 25 years or longer. Powdered eggs for protein and versatility. Powdered milk for calcium, vitamin D, and baking. Powdered whey protein for dense, complete protein. Powdered soup mixes for comfort and easy preparation. Powdered cheese for fat, flavor, and morale. Powdered peanut butter for plant protein and versatility. Powdered fruit for sweetness, nutrients, and morale. Powdered vegetables for fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Powdered butter for essential fats and flavor. But just knowing what to stock isn't enough. You need to store them properly. Even the longest-lasting food will fail if you ignore storage basics. Here are the 4 golden rules for powdered food storage. Rule 1. Keep them cool. Heat is the enemy of shelf life. Aim for under 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Every 10-degree rise cuts the lifespan in half. Basements or climate-controlled storage are ideal. Rule 2. Keep them dry. Moisture ruins powdered foods. Once it sneaks in, you'll get clumping, or worse, mold. That's why packaging matters. Use Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers or number 10 cans. Don't rely on flimsy original containers unless they're designed for long-term use. Rule 3. Keep out oxygen. Oxygen drives oxidation, which means nutrients degrade, flavors vanish, and rancidity sets in. Oxygen absorbers are cheap insurance. A 2,000 cubic centimeter absorber in a 1-gallon Mylar bag removes nearly all oxygen within 2 days, creating a stable, safe environment. Rule 4. Keep out light. UV light breaks down nutrients and alters flavor. That's why good powdered foods come in opaque packaging. If you store in clear containers, keep them in a dark cupboard or box. Better yet, stick with Mylar, which blocks light completely. Follow these 4 rules, and your powdered foods will last decades. Ignore them, and you'll open a container of powdered milk in 5 years, only to be greeted by the smell of rancid socks. Now, there's one more crucial thing I need to mention. Having a stockpile of powdered foods is great, but they're useless if you've never actually cooked with them. One of the biggest mistakes I see beginners make is loading up on long-term storage items and then letting them sit untouched until an actual emergency. That's when reality hits. They open the containers and discover they don't know how to use them. They don't enjoy the flavor, or they're missing key ingredients to make a complete meal. Here's my challenge for you. Pick 1 or 2 of the powdered foods we covered and put them to use right away. Make scrambled powdered eggs for breakfast this weekend. Swap powdered milk into your next batch of muffins or bread. Stir some powdered veggies into a homemade soup. Get used to these foods now while the stakes are low, so you can experiment, make mistakes, and figure out what works for you. That way, if the day comes when you need to rely on them, they'll feel familiar instead of intimidating. So that's the complete breakdown of 9 powdered foods that can last 25 plus years. If this helped you, please hit the like button. It makes a big difference in getting this information out to more people. Leave a comment and tell me which of these powdered foods you already keep in your storage, or which one you're most excited to try. I read every single comment, and I truly enjoy hearing your thoughts. If you're new here, think about subscribing. We release fresh content every week designed to help you prepare smarter, not harder. And if you know someone who could benefit from this knowledge, share this with them. Preparedness isn't just personal. It's about building stronger, more resilient communities.